Welcome again to Once Upon a Mormon, a podcast where we explore our lives and memories from our time in the Mormon Church. A warning to those listening, the contents of our podcast may contain discussions that are stressful or triggering to those who have experienced similar situations. It also reveals informations and practices that are kept secret by the church, such as temple ceremonies and abuse. Please reach out to us if you have any concerns at onceuponamormon@gmail.com. We acknowledge that some small audio clips of Mormon general authorities have been used in the production under the Australian Fair Use Copyright Act. These recordings are all available publicly from the church and are used for the purpose of criticism and review. We hope you enjoy our podcast and thank you for listening.
I believe the church is in better condition than it has been at any time in its entire history. My beloved brethren and sisters,
welcome to Once Upon a Mormon,
another testament of religious abuse.
So many have been hurt.
Persecutions may rage, mobs may combine.
Whom shall we go?
Sown in corruption. We need you.
Never again.
Welcome back to another episode of Once Upon a Mormon. I am Sister Donna, and I have with me Sister May and Brother Hiram. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
Really good. I'm a little bit sick, so apologies in advance if I sound a bit, stuffed up.
It's all right. Well, happy Sabbath.
Yes. Happy Sabbath day, guys. We're keeping it holy up in here.
Some exciting news. Our listener base is beginning to grow. We've been going. This will be our 7th episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Our listener base is growing through the US, Australia, and the UK. And funnily enough, there's people that are listening that I've known from our mission that are like, "Did you start a podcast?"
Oh, that's not awkward.
We're reaching people in the wild. That's amazing.
If you're listening to this, you know who you are. They're actually
that
interested
person.
coming on for an interview soon as well. So that's
very nice.
Exciting.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for supporting us and for hearing our stories. So today's topic is on temples. Do we want to do like a quick intro into what temples are, and then Sister May can go into the little trivia activity that she put up on our socials?
Sounds good. I've done a little bit of research just to get a few facts and figures. So some people may know, some people may not know what a temple is. So for centuries, faithful members of many different religions and beliefs around the world have worshipped their gods or their spirits or whatever they worship. Now, quite often, this worship takes place in a place that's set aside specifically for that. So whether it be an altar, whether it be a shrine, but for a lot of people, they set aside a building. And one of the early ones was King Solomon's temple. Now, they built that, and then they were able to worship their god there. In the Book of Mormon, they also talk about the Temple of Herod in about 570 BCE. And that's the general gist of it. Is it's a place of worship. It's set aside from the normal world. Now, come to the Mormon Church. They have adopted that. So on the 1st of June, 1833, Joseph Smith claimed to have received revelation that he needed to immediately build a temple. So that way they could worship in there, and he could endow and set aside certain members of the church at a higher level. And this came from God. So straight away, they started building. At the time, the members were in poverty. They couldn't afford it, but he convinced them to do it anyway. And in the end, that temple ended up being burnt, and then a tornado destroyed it. And yeah, that's
wait. God didn't protect his temple? What?
Well, you would be surprised. So they on the church website it says that due to money issues, but also relentless persecution in air quotes. It's not really persecution because they did cause it themselves. they had to leave, and that's when they started off on their little trek across the country. So,
All right, so they just abandoned the temple.
They did.
Bye, Felicia.
They abandoned it, and someone turned it into a house.
True.
Yeah, I would do that too.
Yep, that was the Kirtland, Ohio temple. So that was dedicated in March of 1836. So the Mormon Church, they still practice temple worship, which is why we're having this episode. And currently they operate 171 temples around the world, and another 111 are either under construction or have been announced. So if we look at it in money, in 2021, the estimated cost of temples and meeting houses together, it's hard to get facts and figures from the church, the estimated between them was in excess of $35 billion. That's not including the 111 temples announced. So nearly half is still not included in that. But $35 billion, that's a shit ton of money.
It seems like an excessive amount.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out as well, for those who aren't very familiar with the Mormon Church, the difference between like the church meeting houses and the temples. So like if you're if you're driving around and you see like a brick building with like the spire and like a fence around it and like the big plaque out the front that says like, you know, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that's probably just a meeting house. If you're seeing a massive like white building with a golden statue on the top, and it looks really grand and like castle-like,
Great
that
and
is a
spacious
temple.
building.
Yeah.
That's a Mormon joke. That one
Yeah.
is.
Sorry, guys.
Like they spent a lot of money on these things, and I'll give it to them. They look fantastic. Like it is decked
Very
out.
grand
There's
building.
gold trim. There's a gold statue on the roof. And once you get inside, the architecture is just insane. But yeah, that's essentially the difference. That's a good point. There is a difference between a normal chapel and a temple, and it's worth noting that most people cannot get into the temple.
Yeah.
But we'll cover that though.
Yeah, so like in a normal church meeting house, anybody can go. You don't even have to be a member of the church to go to church on a Sunday, because, you know, the missionaries are trying to get non-members to come in on a Sunday and like see what happens and whatever. But yeah, so anybody can go to a Mormon like meeting house, like just the church building, but only very select righteous, you know, people can go to the temple. And there's a whole worthiness aspect that has to be met for you to be able to do that. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add onto that before we go into the trivia?
Not really. All I could think of was I love how they're like, we don't like worship golden statues, but then have a fucking golden statue on top of every single temple. It's like, cool, good job.
I think double standards is code word for Mormon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So shall I take over with the trivia from this week?
This is our fun little game. Thought we'd spice it up a little bit.
Yes, I am very excited.
If you keep looking at our social media, you'll start to see a little bit more involvement from us. We're trying our best here, and we're going to try and post some little spoilers and teasers for the upcoming episode that week.
Yes, I am working around a toddler, so please be patient, but we will get there. Alrighty, so I feel like I need a theme song for this little, like, you know how they have, like,
maybe we can add
Jeopardy
like
and, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Copyright. Bang.
What's the theme song for, like, Deal or No Deal? I need that one.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, let's jump right into this week's trivia. Question 1. Did the Mormon Church have a blood oath as part of the temple ceremony? Ding, ding, ding. That is true.
True. Very true. A blood oath.
Holy shit.
And
we'll have to dig into that a little bit further shortly.
Yeah, I believe that if it was, like, if you revealed any of these secrets or broke your covenant, you would have to, like,
slit your own throat.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. You would kill yourself if you broke your covenants.
which is fantastic. Love that for them.
No pressure.
Question number
No,
2.
everything in the church is absolutely voluntary, guys.
No
They do it
pressure.
because they want to do it.
You can cancel your contract at any
fear.
time. No locking contract.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so question number 2. Did the Mormon Church have an oath of vengeance against the US?
Against the US?
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
I'm
United
reading.
States.
I don't know.
Yeah.
An oath of vengeance against the United States.
That is also true. They did have an
What does
oath
that
of vengeance.
mean?
I did not know that before we
So this is a
planned
fun
these
one.
trivia.
Because they perceived a lot of what the government was doing, because these guys were setting up this big religion, and they were pillaging and moving here and to and all that type of stuff. The government's like, guys, stop it! Like, you got to stop doing all of this. Not to mention, Joseph Smith was a crook and kept committing, breaking different laws and felonies and things like that. They and eventually, Joseph Smith was killed. And Brigham Young was like, all right, cool. We have an oath of vengeance against the people that killed him. So,
Beautiful.
non-violent.
Fantastic. We believe in
Okay.
honoring, obeying, and sustaining the law.
So wait, so Brigham Young was just like, we are going
An
to go
arsehole.
and kill these people who killed Joseph Smith?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Murdering
moving-
in God's name is totally fine, guys.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The Mormons totally believe in that.
Yes. Alrighty, moving on to question 3. Did Joseph Smith introduce secret handshakes and rituals shortly after joining the Masons? Again,
hear that he
also
was a
true.
Definitely true. It's very coincidental that soon after he got into the Masons, the rituals that came into the temple were very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that was also another reason he was persecuted or something, was because the Masons were like, bitch, you stole those. Like,
Stole all of our shit and claimed it as your own churches.
fucking liar.
Get your own.
I thought we were friends.
Create your own doctrine, god damn it.
Love that. Okay, so question number 4 is a multiple choice question. What is the Nauvoo, Illinois temple expected to cost? A, 10 million. B, 50 million. C, 140 million.
I'm going to guess C.
Yes, that
Yeah.
would be correct. C, $140 million. So that's approximately 200 million Australian dollars. So, fun little note, that amount of money could feed 3.5 million children for a year. So that's according to the worldhelp.net.
3.5 million kids
Yeah.
fed for a year, or one building. Take your pick.
We care about God's children.
Very
Wait,
charitable.
The Nauvoo, Illinois temple, was that like the second temple built after Kirtland? Like, so it's like one of the old, like the really, really old ones? Why
Yeah,
does it
they
worth so much?
They keep going.
Got heritage value, I bet.
Something like that, yeah.
And finally, question number 5, last question. Members cannot enter the temple unless they pay the church 10% of their income. If you guess
that's
true,
true.
that would be correct. I love this game. We should do this more often.
Did I win a
It's
prize?
so much fun. You win bragging rights. I survived.
You get
the
salvation.
cult. Yeah.
I win bragging rights if I write the questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah, so most of those were true, which is fucking wild. My God.
And that's not even all of it. Like there's more that I think we're going to have to split this into 2 episodes, because there's a lot to
definitely.
cover.
Yeah,
and
There's a lot.
as we start to go through what actually happens in the temple, you'll start to get pretty surprised at the in-depth, I guess, the culty nature of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I I think the other thing I wanted to point out as well is that, like,